First on my list is Quentin Tarantino. If we're using a slap as a baseline for warranting revoking an Academy Award, then I think we should take a closer look at the very successful director who's definitely been the subject of some extremely controversial moments. Despite his movies being phenomenal, I think anyone with such a long controversies tab on their Wikipedia page should make the Academy pause all the Oscars coming their way. Tarantino has been accused of overusing racial slurs in his movie despite being white himself. He also had a girlfriend at the time who claimed to have an inappropriate interaction with the disgraced movie producer Harvey Weinstein. All Tarantino did at the time was go up to Weinstein and demand an apology, despite knowing the disgusting acts that the producer did to Tarantino's ex. He also knew of Uma Thurman's victimhood at the hands of Weinstein, of which he did nothing. There's a quote I would defer to in this situation like this: when someone may think it's not a big deal, silence in the face of injustice is complicity with the oppressor. Next on my list is Russell Crowe. The actor has won the Best Actor in the Leading Role award for the movie Gladiator. Despite that, he's barely in the news anymore because he was so plagued by controversy and is better known for his rather violent temper. He once threw his phone at a hotel employee because he was angry at his phone for not working. We're not sure if he meant to hit the employee, but either way, no adult should have such childlike meltdowns because things aren't going their way. Next up is Sean Penn. Sean Penn is also another actor who has his own controversy tab on Wikipedia. He won Best Leading Actor at the Academy Awards 2 separate times for his work on the movie Mystic River in 2004 and Milk in 2009. That being said, he got into some hot water because of some derogatory comments he made towards men becoming more feminine. Quote, "I think that men have, in my view, become quite feminized. I have these very strong women in my life who do not take masculinity as a sign of oppression towards them. There are a lot of, I think, cowardly genes that lead to people surrendering their genes and putting on a skirt." A lot of people are calling this comment transphobic, especially after he said prior to this, quote, "I am in the club that believes that men in American culture have become wildly feminized. I don't think that being a brute or having insensitivity or disrespect for women is anything to do with masculinity or ever did. But I don't think that in order to be fair to women, we should become them." Ironically, again, he won the Oscar for playing Harvey Milk, a gay rights icon who he may consider to be a feminine man. Next on the list is the Oscars that took place in the year 2000. After winning Best Supporting Actress for her role in Girl Interrupted, Angelina Jolie and her brother James Haven shocked the crowd super uncomfortably when they locked lips at the Vanity Fair after party. During her acceptance speech for the role, Jolie shouted out her brother with the equally uncomfortable line, quote, "I'm in shock and I'm so in love with my brother right now. He just held me and said he loved me, and I know he's so happy for me, and thank you for that." The kiss immediately sparked headlines, which Jolie called pathetic. She later said that the siblings had been visiting their mother, who had cancer, in the hospital that day, and the kiss and declaration of love had just been part of her reaction to the day's emotional ups and downs. Next on the list is Casey Affleck. He's won 2 separate Academy Awards, one for Best Actor and another for Best Supporting Actor. Casey has a highly publicized history of being lecherous towards women. One movie he filmed in particular, called I'm Still Here, saw 2 separate women go public with their story of horrifyingly inappropriate moments in which Casey got way too aggressive when these women would reject his proposal to sleep with him. Casey was sued by these 2 women who claimed that Affleck drunkenly crawled into bed with her without her consent while she was sleeping. Another alleged that he grabbed her violently to intimidate her into staying with him in his hotel room. Although Casey denies these allegations, he did suspiciously settle out of court with these women for an undisclosed amount of money, which doesn't really help a bid for innocence.
Halfway at number 5, Nicole Kidman. Nicole Kidman easily had the most memeable reaction to the slap, and thankfully photographers captured the moment where her jaw was dropped as low as it could go. Kidman was seated in the front row, so not only did she get a clear view of the slap, we got an unobstructed view of her reaction. I really think hers is the perfect reaction to the slap because it was just so shocking. My face probably looked about the same when I saw it. Kidman is well known for another notable Oscars moment when her seal-looking clap was put on display. Thankfully, this will now be the new meme starring her.
Next on the list is Mel Gibson, who has 3 Academy Awards, 2 for Braveheart and 1 for Hacksaw Ridge. He had a more than 10-year hiatus from Hollywood before filming Hacksaw Ridge because he was basically shut out from Hollywood after he had a DUI in 2006, during which he unleashed an insanely prejudiced rant towards Jewish folks. Following that was a leaked tape in 2010 where Gibson Gibson screamed racist remarks at his girlfriend, including the N-word. She later alleged he also hit her during their time together. He was also extremely homophobic and called Winona Ryder a, quote, dodger in reference to her Judaism. Despite all of these insane events, Mel returned to Hollywood with basically no repercussions, and we all seem to give him infinite second chances. Obviously, his talent is undeniable. He's a phenomenal director, but others with his talent have also completely disappeared from Hollywood for much lesser charges. So what gives?
In at number 3, The Circus. At the very first ever Academy Awards in 1929, the award show decided to revoke Charlie Chaplin's awards to make the night more fair for everyone. At that year's awards, he was nominated for Best Actor, Best Director for a Comedy, Best Writer, and Outstanding Picture for his work in the film The Circus. Since he was such a legendary talent, the Academy believed there was a high chance that he might win all the awards, so they decided to create an honorary award just for him, combining all of his awards into one. This new award combined the awards for Best Writing, Directing, and Producing in the film.
Second to last on the list is Woody Allen. He's got a ton of Academy Awards for his movies over the years, with his latest being in 2014, despite the extremely public case of him having inappropriately touched his stepdaughter, who was 7 years old at the time and kid to actress Mia Farrow. The accusation came just 8 months after Mia Farrow learned that Woody Allen had a romantic relationship with another adopted daughter they shared, Soon-Yi Previn. Although the allegations are not proven, if we're considering taking an Oscar away for a slap to the face, I feel like we should much more closely examine the dubious people we've decided to let remain in the spotlight. Last on my list is Harvey Weinstein. We all know what he's done. I don't really think I need to go into the horrifying recounts by countless women of his coercing them into non-consensual acts. He has a total of 81 Oscar wins over the course of his production company's movies, but only one directly attributed to Weinstein himself for Shakespeare in Love. He was one of the biggest men in Hollywood and a top player. Despite having his status in the Academy revoked, and the Academy as a voting party revoked in 2018, Harvey still holds his Oscar. He was enabled for years by the people around him who turned a blind eye to his actions purely due to his status in Hollywood. And now, even after Me Too, he still has the Academy Awards somewhere in his mansion home. First up on the list is a stunt pulled by Marlon Brando that is just as topical today as it was back in the early 1970s, 1973 to be exact. While Marlon Brando isn't the first person to decline their Oscar for various reasons, his snubbing of the ceremony following his iconic role in The Godfather was certainly one of the most memorable. Brando was considered a shoo-in for the winner of Best Actor, and he had already taken home the Best Actor statue once before for his role in the 1955 movie On the Waterfront. However, despite what many would consider this to be a huge honor for the actor, he decided to not even attend the ceremony. Instead, he sent Native American actor and activist Saheen Littlefeather on stage to decline the award on his behalf. He did it in protest of the way that Native Americans have been treated in the United States. The 1973 awards were the first time that the show had been broadcast internationally, and over 85 million people watched Littlefeather's passionate speech, which came just a month into the standoff between Native American activists and the cops after police killed a Lakota man at the Wounded Knee Reserve in South Dakota. Next up on the list is the 1974 Academy Awards ceremony, when an English teacher named Robert Opel stripped down and ran on stage while Elizabeth Taylor was being introduced for an award. So Robert ran on stage completely naked and sprinted around for a bit. After the stunt had occurred, the host at the time quipped, quote, "Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was almost bound to happen." But isn't it fascinating to think that probably the only laugh that man will ever get in his life is by stripping off and showing his shortcomings? Luckily for Opel, he was able to evade arrest, probably because everyone thought the stunt was hilarious. Instead, he was invited backstage to explain himself. Turns out the streaking was part of Opel's commentary on the way society has become too conformist. Opel, who owned a Los Angeles gallery known for showcasing homoerotic art, also streaked at the Los Angeles City Council meeting. Next up on the list is a horrifyingly cringy musical number that actor Rob Lowe did with a Snow White impersonator. This happened during the 1989 Oscars, which was considered a year of many firsts. The first time the ceremony used the famous red carpet, first time the term, quote, "and the Oscar goes to" was used, and the first time the show didn't have a host. Instead of a host opening the awards, it was Rob Lowe and Snow White singing an 11-minute version of Tina Turner's track Proud Mary, with the lyrics tweaked to fit the show's theme. The performance was super awkward and cringy, but the scandal part comes from it also being illegal. The performance prompted Disney Studios to file a copyright infringement lawsuit against the Academy for using Snow White's image without permission. On top of that, a group of 17 heavyweight actors wrote in to write a scathing letter to the Academy, calling the performance an embarrassment to the people who were nominated. Yikes. Next is Morgan Freeman. Despite being a very beloved actor and a man known for his soothing voice, Morgan Freeman has kind of a complicated history with women. 8 separate women throughout his various times on different film sets throughout the years have spoken out about his extremely inappropriate behavior. One woman stated that he made comments on her figure and clothing on a near daily basis, and would touch her without asking by resting his hands on her lower back or rubbing her lower back. Another woman stated that Freeman, quote, kept trying to lift up my skirt and asking if I was wearing underwear. He only stopped when another actor, Adam Arkin, told him to stop. A senior production company employee for the film Now You See Me stated that, quote, he did comment on our bodies. We knew that if he was coming by, not to wear any top that would show our breasts, not to wear anything that would show our bottoms, meaning not wear clothes that were fitted. Also not to mention that he dated and slept with his own step-granddaughter. Don't meet your heroes, I guess. Next up on the docket is the time that Bjork made international headlines for her bizarre and iconic dress at the 2001 Academy Awards ceremony. While the dress certainly made a statement on its own, the quirky artist took it one step further by pretending to lay an egg on the red carpet. She had a bunch of ostrich eggs and she just left them all over the red carpet, and reportedly also left one in the women's bathroom while inside the ceremony. Her outfit was so memorable that it is now a part of an exhibit at the Museum of Modern Art.
Halfway at number 5, Young Americans. The film Young Americans won the Academy Award for Best Documentary in 1969, and everyone involved in the film was thrilled. But a month after receiving the award, it was stripped away for violating the Oscars' terms. So the movie was actually made in 1967, and it was first shown in theaters in October of 1967, not making it eligible for the 1969 Oscars, where it won. After the award was taken away, it was given to the runner-up called Journey into Self. As of now, Young Americans is the only movie in Academy history to receive an Oscar, then have it taken away after the ceremony.
Next up is the 2015 Oscars, when John Travolta hopped onto the Oscar stage to introduce Idina Menzel, who voiced Princess Elsa in the Disney Frozen movie. People were obsessed with Frozen during this time, and it instantly became a classic in the Disney canon. The Frozen song Let It Go had been nominated for Best Original Song, which meant that Idina would be performing the song for the ceremony. When John Travolta was set to introduce her, he inexplicably said, quote, the wickedly talented, one and only Adele Dazeem. Travolta later said that seconds before he was set to go on stage, he ran into Goldie Hawn and missed the announcement that the producers had changed the spelling of Menzel's name on the teleprompter to a phonetic version that was supposed to be easier to pronounce. Luckily, Menzel was a pretty good sport about the whole thing. She reunited with Travolta at the next year's ceremony.
And at number 3, Nick Viall. Nick Viall, former Bachelor contestant, gave his thoughts on the slap, and he was asked to compare it to the drama on The Bachelor. Viall said what happened at the Oscars was, quote, way more dramatic than what happens on The Bachelor. Adding, quote, I think most people just wondered if it was like a bit or a joke, if it was fake. I think pretty quickly we realized it was serious. Viall also shared that he felt bad for Chris Rock, adding, quote, Chris Rock is there to be a comedian. He tells jokes. Obviously, there's going to be some at the expense of people. Everyone has a right to feel how they feel, and we have our hurt feelings, but how we handle our hurt feelings matters. Viall continued that he doesn't think Smith handled his feelings in the best way, but added that his performance in King Richard was amazing and he deserved the win.
Next on the list is the 2020 Oscars, where the much-deserving film Parasite had just been announced as the Best Picture of the year. It marked the first time that a non-English language film took home the top honor. When the cast and crew headed on stage to accept the award, which was one of the 6 the movie won through the night, co-producer Kok Sin-ae first took the mic and spoke for 45 seconds before turning things over to Mikey Lee, the film's other producer. But before Lee got to deliver her speech, the lights went down on the stage and cameras focused on Jane Fonda, who was slated to deliver the night's closing remarks. The audience was instantly outraged, and stars like Tom Hanks and Charlize Theron, who were sitting in the front row, started chanting "Up, up" to persuade the showrunners to turn the attention back to Parasite. Luckily, the cheers worked and Lee was able to deliver her remarks, but it didn't stop tons of outrage from coming out in reaction to the rude dismissal. And now, finally, we come to the Oscars that were literally just held a few days ago with another big scandal. As Chris Rock took to the stage to present the award for Best Documentary, the comedian made a few jabs at Hollywood and its actors. One such jab was toward Jada Pinkett Smith, who suffers from alopecia. Basically, it was a joke aimed at her being bald, to which Jada's husband, Will Smith obviously, rushes the stage and slaps the words right out of Chris Rock's mouth. Chris was obviously super shocked, and Will Smith sat back in his seat but shouted back at Chris not to talk badly on his wife. Everyone in the crowd was super stunned, obviously. A fight has never broken out on the Oscars stage before. And it was just super sweet chicken soup for my middle-class soul.
In at number 10, Judd Apatow. After the shocking altercation, some celebrities took to Twitter to share how much they disagreed with Will Smith's actions. Director Judd Apatow was probably the most vocal, who said in a series of tweets, quote, "Seems like Will Smith's plan to get comedians and the world to not make jokes about him is not going to pan out. The Williams family must be furious. Pure narcissism. Also, G.I. Jane was gorgeous. What exactly is insulting about being compared to a ripped, stunning Demi Moore?" He then replied to a tweet that mentioned that Will did what he did because Rock was insulting her alopecia. Apatow doubled down, writing, quote, "He could have killed him. That's pure out of control rage and violence. They've heard a million jokes about them in the last 3 decades. They're not freshmen in the world of Hollywood and comedy. He lost his mind." Apatow has since deleted the tweets, but we can assume he meant every word. In at number 9, Tiffany Haddish. Tiffany Haddish was one of the few celebrities who decided to support Will Smith's actions. She stated how much she loved to see a husband standing up for his wife. It probably also helped that Haddish and Pinkett Smith are friends and starred in the movie Girls Trip together. Haddish told People, quote, "When I saw a black man stand up for his wife, that meant so much to me. As a woman who has been unprotected, for someone to say, 'Keep my wife's name out of your mouth, leave my wife alone,' that's what your husband is supposed to do, right? Protect you. And maybe the world might not like how it went down, but for me it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen because it made me believe there are still men out there that love and care about their women," adding that she thought it was beautiful because it proved that there are husbands that still care about their wives. In at number 8, Sophia Bush. One Tree Hill star Sophia Bush tried to see both sides of the situation and tweeted out, quote, "Violence isn't okay, assault is never the answer. Also, this is the second time that Chris has made fun of Jada on the Oscars stage, and tonight he went after her alopecia. Punching down at someone's autoimmune disease is wrong. Doing so on purpose is cruel. They both need a breather." I do appreciate how she tried to see both sides of things because both men are wrong in some ways. Chris Rock also joked about Pinkett Smith at the 2016 Oscars. Her and Will decided not to go that year to protest the lack of diversity at the award show. While hosting, Rock said, quote, "Jada said she's not coming to protest. I'm like, isn't she on a TV show? Jada's going to boycott the Oscars? Jada boycotting the Oscars is like me boycotting Rihanna's panties. I wasn't invited." He also took a jab at Will and added a comment about Will's lack of nomination that year, saying, quote, "It's not fair that Will was this good and didn't get nominated. You're right. It's also not fair that Will was paid $20 million for Wild Wild West, okay?" He said, referencing one of Smith's biggest flops. In at number 7, Tubba Atlantic. 2010 film Tubba Atlantic was another movie that had its nomination revoked after it broke the Oscars rules. The film was a Norwegian short film about a 70-year-old man who only had 6 days to live and spends that time reconciling with his estranged family. It was nominated for Best Live Action Short Film in 2012, and it was a huge step for the Norwegian film industry. However, the nomination for this movie was revoked after the Academy discovered that the film was already shown on Norwegian television before it was released in theaters, which is a huge no-no for the Academy, which is purely for movies released in theaters. After investigation, it was determined that the producers of the film did not disclose that the movie was shown on TV beforehand, even though they were directly asked if it had been in the submission forms, and the producers checked no on these forms. After the nomination was taken away, one of the filmmakers claimed that they were shocked over the decision, as they apparently knew about the TV broadcast and were fine with it. The filmmakers continued that they believe there were exceptions to the rule if the film was shown to film students. The Oscars denied knowing anything beforehand. And at number 6, Denzel Washington. Another celebrity that supported Will Smith after his outburst was Denzel Washington. During the commercial break of the show, journalists noted that Will was seen talking to Washington and Tyler Perry for an extended period of time. Will was breaking down and looking for support from the men. The Hollywood Reporter's columnist Scott Feinberg captured the moment when Denzel Washington approached Smith during a commercial break and shared it on Twitter Sunday night. The reporter added, quote, "Will appears to wipe tears away from his eyes as he sits back down with Jada, with Denzel comforting Jada and Will's rep by his side." Then during his speech for Best Actor, Will revealed what Denzel said to him, saying, quote, "At your highest moment, be careful. That's when the devil comes for you." It seems the pair are good friends. During another interview, Will said, quote, "He knew me years ago. I would go to Denzel for advice, so he's seen me through the years and he was just telling me how proud he is of who I've become and what I've become."
Next up is Jared Leto, who won an Oscar for his performance in 2014 for Dallas Buyers Club. The dude is kind of a creep though. He has been hit with a lot of allegations over the years, including for targeting underage girls. On Twitter, Dylan Sprouse called out the behavior with the tweet, quote, "Yo Jared Leto, now that you've slid into the DMs of every female model aged 18 to 25, what would you say your success rate is?" James Gunn replied, quote, "He starts at 18 on the internet." On the set of the 2016 movie Suicide Squad, Jared was also reportedly method acting and sent Margot Robbie a dead rat, alongside used condoms to other co-stars. It reminds me of this Robert Pattinson quote on method acting, quote, "I always say about people who do method acting, you only ever see people do the method when they're playing assholes. You never see them being lovely to everyone while they're really deep in character."
And at number 4, Serena Williams. Serena Williams was also in the front row of the show as her father and life story was showcased in the movie King Richard. Since she had such a deep connection to the film, many were wondering what her and her sister Venus's reaction would be to the outburst. She broke her silence on Instagram, where she simply shared a video of her mouth hanging open with her eyes wide, clearly showcasing what we were all feeling, utter disbelief. She then followed this up with another video, saying, quote, "I just sat down because I was like, I gotta put that drink down," again looking in shock. It was clearly a reference to what just happened. The sisters have said nothing more. Many are wondering if the family is hurt that Will would hurt the legacy of the film, or if they approve of what he did.
Next up is the infamous 2017 Best Picture announcement mix-up. At the very end of the ceremony, Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty took to the stage to reveal the night's big-ticket Best Picture winner. All was going smoothly until Beatty went to read the winner. He looked noticeably confused, and some wondered if he was having a hard time seeing the teleprompter. He held the card out to Dunaway, who assumed he was changing up the script and allowing her to read out the winner. She announced La La Land, and the cast and crew filed on stage to celebrate. Backstage, Academy accountants from PricewaterhouseCoopers sprung into action and alerted production that the wrong envelope had been given and that Moonlight actually had won Best Picture. Stage managers scurried on stage to correct the gaffe. So what happened? Turns out Beatty had been handed an extra Best Actress envelope, which had gone to Emma Stone from La La Land, instead of the one labeled Best Picture. A production error earlier in the day meant that they had run out of time to rehearse the last few awards prior to showtime, which could have contributed to the mistake. Oopsies.
In at number 2, Ethan Klein. One YouTuber that made their thoughts incredibly clear was Ethan Klein, who posted a string of tweets denouncing Will's actions. He wrote, quote, "Will Smith's just a walking L since his wife decided to start weekly humiliating him on her Facebook show. Probably should deal with whatever trauma he has with her instead of punching Chris Rock in the face for an extremely tame joke. He needs to be escorted out of the Oscars, L." Adding in another tweet, quote, "Will Smith won and got a standing ovation. I'm in awe. The show went on like nothing happened. Will Smith punched a comedian for doing his job. He's a celebrity in the front row of the Oscars where it's normal to be roasted. Bad taste or not, defending Will equals brain rot." Many pointed out that Will only did so because Chris made fun of his wife's alopecia, but Klein did not back down and said that that's no reason to slap someone in the face, which I completely agree with. And finally at number 1, Howard Stern. Howard Stern did not hold back on his Monday morning radio show, completely blasting Will Smith for his actions. Stern said, quote, "What you saw on TV was a guy with real issues. That's crazy. That's crazy when you can't contain yourself." His co-host Robin Quivers called the assault a quote blindsided attack, noting that Rock had no idea that the hit was coming. Both Stern and Quivers blasted the Academy for not immediately ejecting Smith from the event, with Stern adding, quote, "You don't provide security, you don't have someone to come up there. Chris Rock was just trying to make people laugh at the ceremony, which is so long and boring." Comic Nikki Glasser also called into the show to agree, with her adding that she's afraid of what might happen to other comedians when they make risky jokes at a comedy club. All three blasted the inaction from other celebrities in the room and the Academy for doing nothing. In at number 10, Will Smith. As of now, Will Smith has not been stripped of his Oscar officially after he received it just a few nights ago, but considering his disrespectful conduct, many are thinking the Academy will punish him for the action. After slapping Chris Rock and interrupting the broadcast, Will Smith won Actor of the Year for his performance in King Richard. While giving his acceptance speech, he took the time to apologize to the Academy and his fellow nominees while crying. He blamed his actions on the love he has for his wife, Jada. Since he still won the award and was treated like nothing happened following the slap, many people thought thought nothing would happen. But after 2017, the Oscars introduced a new code of conduct in the context of the Me Too movement. In a letter sent to members at the time, CEO Don Hudson stated, quote, "Academy membership is a privilege offered to only a select few within the global community of filmmakers." Adding, quote, "There is no place in the Academy for people who misuse their status, power, or influence in a manner that violates recognized standards of decency." And if you really think about what Will Smith did that night, it was using his privilege to do something that would have gotten any other person arrested. After the slap, the Academy posted a statement that they condemn all violence and announced that they launched a formal investigation into the incident. It's been rumored that his Oscar will not be taken away, but he may be suspended from the Academy. And at number 9, Marlon Brando. Along with the 2022 Oscars, the 1973 Oscars is also remembered for a shocking event. That year, Francis Ford Coppola's mob crime drama The Godfather was nominated for 9 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Actor for Marlon Brando. When it was announced that Brando had won the prestigious award, he did not come to the stage to accept it. Rather, a woman named Sacheen Littlefeather came on stage on his behalf. She said that Brando, quote, "very regretfully cannot accept this very generous award," and the reason for this being are the treatment of American Indians today by the film industry. In the middle of the speech, Littlefeather was booed for her words, and the audience was not accepting of her words. It was also reported that 6 security guards had to hold back John Wayne because he was so angered by what she was saying. In at number 8, Hondo. In 1954, the movie Hondo was nominated for Best Story, which has now been renamed to Best Original Screenplay. The John Wayne Western movie was favored to win, but the nomination was later revoked after the Academy discovered the script for the movie was not original. Rather, it was based on an already existing short story called The Gift of Conscience. This is obviously against the rules, as the nominees in this category must create an original story. And at number 7, Lupita Nyong'o. One of the celebrities whose live reaction to the incident has gone viral is Lupita Nyong'o. Lupita was seated right behind Will Smith, so when he sat down after slapping Chris Rock, we got a clear view of exactly how she was feeling. It was the same shock and horror that most of us were experiencing at that time. Lupita won Best Supporting Actress in 2014 for her role in 12 Years a Slave and was at the 2022 ceremony to hand out the Best Costume Design award. She looked incredibly uncomfortable as she sat inches away from Will as he raged at Chris Rock on stage. One person tweeted along with her picture, quote, "Give Lupita Best Supporting Actress for her work tonight." This is now being called her second best moment at the Oscars. The first was when she took part in Ellen DeGeneres' then social media breaking selfie from the 2014 ceremony. And at number 6, 13 Hours. In 2017, 13 Hours earned a single Oscar nomination for Best Achievement in Sound Mixing, with 4 members of the sound team, Gary Summers, Jeffrey J. Habush, Mac Ruth, and Greg P. Russell getting acknowledged for their work. However, just one day before the award show was to be held, the Academy announced that they were rescinding the nomination for Greg P. Russell for breaking the rules. He was accused of telephone lobbying, which is essentially begging for votes from the members of the Academy. The Oscars revealed their decision in a statement, saying in part, quote, "Upon recommendation by the Sound Branch Executive Committee, the Academy's Board of Governors voted to rescind the sound mixing nomination for Greg P. Russell from 13 Hours. The decision was prompted by the discovery that Russell had called his fellow members of the Sound Branch during the nominations phase to make them aware of his work on the film, in direct violation of a campaign regulation that prohibits telephone lobbying."
Next on the list is the 2003 Oscars, and more specifically when Michael Moore took to the stage after his win for the Best Documentary category. While we've all heard the music start to kick up when the acceptance speech goes on for a tad too long, Michael Moore was well within his time slot when he had to be cut off. That's because, like the political commentator he is, he directly attacked George W. Bush for the unnecessary invasion of Iraq. Quote, "We live in a time where we have a man sending us to a war for fictitious reasons. Shame on you, Mr. Bush, shame on you." He was met with boos from the audience and was quickly played off stage. Ironic, honestly, especially when Michael Moore was criticizing presidents long before it was okay to do so, and the same people who booed him off stage ribbed future presidents at other award shows. Just shows the shallowness of the whole thing.
And at number 4, Alone Yet Not Alone. In 2014, the main song from the Christian film Alone Yet Not Alone was nominated for Best Original Song, but the nomination was revoked 2 weeks later. This was because the award show discovered that Bruce Brutton, the song's composer and an executive committee member of the Academy's music branch, had emailed members of the Academy to try and butter them up for votes. The Academy posted a statement writing that Broughton, quote, had emailed some of the other 239 members of the branch to make them aware of his submission during the nominations voting period, which goes against Academy rules. The Academy president at the time continued that even though it was most likely well-intentioned, promoting a member's own Oscar nomination to their colleagues is an unfair advantage. After the decision, he told The Hollywood Reporter, quote, I'm devastated. I indulged in the simplest grassroots campaign, and it went against me when the song started to get attention. I got taken down by competition that had months of promotion and advertising behind them. I simply asked people to find the song and consider it.
Next on my list is Roman Polanski. Need I say more? His name is more synonymous with the horrifying acts he's done to a 13-year-old girl than it is with the movies that won him an Oscar. He has 5 Oscar nominations and 1 win in 2002 for his film The Pianist. He was on the lam in the late 70s to different countries after his horrific and brutal act with the child. He was temporarily arrested in Switzerland by Interpol and cannot go back to America or he will face life in prison. Instead, he lives between France, Switzerland, and Poland, making his movies in Europe rather than facing justice for his crime. And horrifyingly, he is still winning Oscars, as was the case in 2002. The only justice he faced was a house arrest in Switzerland for a few months, and in 2018, he was removed from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. That's it.
And at number 2, Dudley Nichols. Some celebrities are stripped of their Oscars awards or nominations, but the first person to ever reject receiving the award was screenwriter Dudley Nichols, who won for Best Screenplay in the 1935 film The Informer. The movie was set during the Irish War of Independence and was adapted from the novel of the same name by Liam O'Flaherty. The movie won multiple awards, with the director John Ford going on to win Best Director with Nichols winning Best Screenplay. After rejecting the award, Nichols revealed he did so to support an ongoing writer's strike in Hollywood. And finally, number 1, George C. Scott. Another celebrity who refused to accept their Oscar win was actor George C. Scott. He won the award for Best Actor in 1971 for acting in the film Patton. He announced ahead of time that he would not be attending the awards because he didn't approve of the snooty event. He told press that the show was a, quote, 2-hour meat parade, calling it, quote, barbaric and innately corrupt. Even though he trashed the show multiple times beforehand, the Oscars still decided to honor him with the award for his work in the film. The film's producer, Frank McCarthy, accepted the award on his behalf. McCarthy then returned it to the Academy the following day, as Scott had requested. Firstly, he deflected the blame. Moments after the slap, the award for Best Actor was presented. This was the award that Smith was favored to win. Many were not sure if he would be asked to leave the show, or if the Oscars might actually change the winner to someone else at the last moment. However, he did win the award for his portrayal of Richard Williams in the movie King Richard, based on the father of tennis stars Venus and Serena Williams. When he came up to accept the award, fans were hoping that he would apologize to Chris Rock and the fans, but he did not, and he actually deflected the blame, even comparing himself to Richard Williams. Smith said in part, quote, Richard Williams was a fierce defender of his family. I'm being called in on my life to love people and to protect people and to be a river to my people. I know to do what we do, you gotta be able to take criticism. You gotta be able to have people talk crazy about you. In this business, you gotta be able to have people disrespecting you. And you gotta smile, you gotta pretend like it's okay. He also added, quote, love will make you do crazy things. He later apologized to the Academy and his fellow nominees, but many did not think this apology went far enough, especially since he deflected the blame for the action beforehand, blaming his instincts to protect his family for deciding to do an unprecedented action at the most prestigious award show there is. One fan wrote on Twitter after the speech, quote, all the media outlets tweeting about Will Smith apologizing in his acceptance speech were clearly watching a different award ceremony. Smith's tearful speech did not include an apology to Chris Rock. So clearly, in my opinion, he is not sorry to Chris Rock. Other celebrities are vocal against him. After the shocking altercation, some celebrities took to Twitter to share how much they disagree with Will Smith's actions. Director Judd Apatow was probably the most vocal, who said in a series of tweets, quote, seems like Will Smith's plan to get comedian and the world not to make jokes about him is not going to pan out. The Williams family must be furious, pure narcissism. Also, G.I. Jane was gorgeous. What exactly is insulting about being compared to a ripped, stunning Demi Moore? He then replied to a tweet that mentioned that he did what he did because Chris Rock was insulting her alopecia. Apatow doubled down, writing, quote, he could have killed him. That's pure out of control uncontrolled rage and violence. They've heard a million jokes about them in the last 3 decades. They are not freshmen in the world of Hollywood and comedy. He lost his mind. Apatow has since deleted these tweets. Kathy Griffin also chimed in, tweeting out, quote, "Let me tell you something. It's very bad practice to walk up on stage and physically assault a comedian. Now we all have to worry about who wants to be the next Will Smith in comedy clubs and theaters. Blacklisted from other award shows." It's not a stretch to think that other award shows might not allow Will Smith to attend after he slapped a host while they were presenting. The Academy tweeted after, quote, "The Academy does not condone violence of any form. Tonight we are delighted to celebrate our 94th Academy Awards winners who deserve this moment of recognition from their peers and movie lovers around the world." Clearly they did not want to publicly trash one of their winners, but I'm sure they are not happy with what took place. And finally, he could get arrested. Just a reminder that what Will Smith did was illegal, and he could have easily been arrested and charged. The LAPD said in a statement after the Oscars, quote, "LAPD investigative entities are aware of an incident between 2 individuals during the Academy Awards program. The incident involved one individual slapping another. The individual involved has declined to file a police report. If the involved party desires a police report at a later date, LAPD will be available to complete an investigative report." So clearly Chris Rock is not deciding to file any charges, thankfully for Will Smith, but if they don't reconcile, nothing is stopping Rock from pressing charges at a later date, so hopefully Will Smith apologizes. Next up, showed his true colors. Will Smith has been long considered one of the nicest and most humble A-list celebrities there is. But after this incident, people are starting to think differently of him, because no truly nice person would do what Will Smith did. Maybe this is the type of person he's actually been all along, and the nice guy image that he's cultivated is fake, with many comparing him to other celebrities like Ellen DeGeneres, who was exposed for being mean. Many tweets online after the incident accused Smith of showing his true colors with his action. It essentially took him less than 5 seconds to decide to not only physically harm someone, but to disrespect the Oscars and everyone else that was there that night. I guess people will make their own decisions about his character moving forward, but for a lot of fans, their opinion of him has changed. Didn't apologize to Chris Rock. Since Will Smith won the award for Best Actor just moments after slapping Chris Rock, many thought he would take this time to apologize to Chris Rock for the insane move. But he didn't. He apologized to almost everyone else other than the person that he hit. During his speech, Smith said, quote, "Denzel Washington said to me, at your highest moment, be careful, that's when the devil comes for you." Adding, quote, "I want to apologize to the Academy, I want to apologize to my fellow nominees," at no point mentioning Chris Rock. Then he tried to lighten the mood by saying, quote, "Art imitates life. I look like a crazy father just like they said, but love will make you do crazy things."